A lot of work goes into the floats we watch during the Tournament of Roses parade, but one documentary is showing us exactly how much.
A lot of work. The last 8 takes us behind the scenes of one particular float being finished at the end of what's called Deco Week in the final 8 hours.
It's a live broadcast, a live production, and so failure is not an option.
As one year fades and another begins, a quiet ritual stirs in Pasadena. For more than 130 years, hands have gathered here, placing flower after flower, holding on to what was and welcoming what's to come.
The last 8 will have its Hollywood premiere this Sunday as part of the Los Angeles Documentary Film Festival. And here to talk about it, director Bryanna Reynolds. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here talking about such an iconic tradition like the Rose Parade, especially in a documentary that goes behind the scenes and really just looks at what all the community do to come together and all the volunteers that put hours and hours into creating such a beautiful float that is part of, hundreds of other floats.
You really capture the excitement because we cover it from start to finish, these floats being built. And I actually took my father-in-law from Ohio to come see the decorating, and it is such a wild process. There's so many volunteers, so many little intricacies that they're doing to make these floats really come alive. So tell us why you wanted to do this documentary and follow these volunteers.
I actually met a wonderful lady called Terry. She's one of the directors of the volunteers at the Burbank Tournament of the Roses, and she was telling me all about the Tournament of the Roses. I'm from Australia naturally, so I've got the accent. So learning about Californian traditions and American traditions at that, when she told me about the Tournament of the Roses and how many people come together to build such beautiful floats made of completely organic matter and roses and flowers, I knew that it was something that I felt so strongly about and something that really pulled on my own heartstrings, seeing all these people come together. And I knew that it was something that I needed to tell this story. I needed to show all these volunteers like what they were doing, and it's just a story I think a lot of people here in California can relate to, but also I think it's a universal story that people across the world can also relate to because it's community coming together, and that's the whole heart of the story and the documentary.
Speaking of the heart of the story, let's talk about that because, you think floats, big float, massive float, 8 hours, this is crunch time, right? But there's a story within a story here, right?
There is, yeah. The last 8 hours, the film specifically looks at that time when the judges come in. I don't know if a lot of people know, but for the Tournament of the Roses, it's a very strict process of having the judges come in and assess the floats, because at the end of the day, the floats are actually classified as vehicles here in California. So they have to pass, rules and regulations. And there's also a lot of rules that come down to what can be placed onto the float as well. It has to be natural, and it has to be flowers. And there's just there's a lot of rules there to keep that in place and keep the tradition alive.
And the judging is fierce because there's so many different types of awards that they're granting these floats, and they're bragging rights. All of these float houses really want to win, and it's based on sometimes creativity or how beautiful or thematic, whimsical. So there's so many different varieties, right? And so what did you get in terms of the sense of all the excitement building up to crunch time and finally getting and meeting that deadline?
Yeah, it was a process that I didn't know how intense it really was, and that's why I wanted to focus on those very last 8 hours, because when I was there just looking at everything while I was filming it and doing interviews and all of that, I couldn't believe how tight the deadline was. Like, it's right down to the minute, and you could see in that clip just before that we have someone timing it down to the very last second, that the judges are allowed to be there and they're allowed to be looking in that. Unfortunately, on the day when the judges came for the Burbank Tournament of the Roses float, it was pouring rain, and so there was that added degree of
pressure.
Yeah, pressure.
Stress, right? It's like stressful. Can I ask you, just as someone, you just described yourself as an outsider, what is your favorite thing that you learned while working on this?
I think the main thing that I learned and I took away from this is that going into a physical place and working with other people as a community, as opposed to, you know, being on social media these days, I found that it was such a beautiful place and location for people to make friends and to bring their family along and do physical artwork all together. I think that having a physical space where people can come together is just one of the most beautiful things, and I think it's something that we're overlooking these days. And I urge people, if they can, to go and volunteer and you know, place the flowers onto the floats. There's opportunities out there to go and do it, and I know the Burbank team would love to have people come down and help them out too.
And watching clips of your documentary, you can't imagine the enormity of these floats. They are really, really big when you're up close and personal with them, right? Did the size kind of surprise you?
The size did surprise me. So for the last 8, the Burbank team, it was a life-size pirate ship, and I think that that magic behind building a pirate ship and just standing within its vicinity, it's built down in a power bank down in Burbank, and it's just, yeah, like you said, the size of it, it just adds to that magic of the entire Tournament of the Roses and the parade.
So cool. Listen, it is so nice to talk to you. Your excitement is infectious. It's awesome. The world premiere of The Last 8 is Sunday at the Angeles Documentary Film Festival at the Broadwater in Hollywood. Tickets are available at the website right there on your screen. Oh, this is awesome. It's 18 minutes long. It's a really fun watch. So trust me.
Thanks so much. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here.